Welcome back, everyone. Today we're going to talk about using punches. Punches are a great way to step up your card. You don't need any extra equipment. You don't need a die cutting machine or anything like that. You just need a punch. And we're particularly going to be using the punch and stamp set that go with the Ice Cream Corner Suite, which is on page 48 in the January to June 2001 catalog. And I'm going to be using the stamp set, the punch, and the designer series paper in some example cards we're going to do today. But I also want to talk a little bit about this tailored tag punch. It's actually a really versatile punch, and there is another stamp set called Happy Thoughts, and all the main greetings will fit within this punch. And if you look at the annual catalog on page 166, these are all the other punches that you can purchase. Not all come with stamp sets, though typically if they do come with a stamp set, they're bundled, and you can get a 10% discount, which is true for the ice cream stamp right now, stamp and punch right now. But that Happy Thoughts stamp set also coordinates with the story label, the everyday label, the timeless label punch, in addition to the tailored tag punch. So if you like any of these better, it'll coordinate with that stamp set. The tailored tag punch is one of my favorites because it can do so many different things. So we're going to start with this one, and then we're going to use ice cream, but we're going to be using the ice cream paper throughout this video. Okay, so for example, I have this very simple card. Okay, this is the designer series paper from the Ice Cream Corner Suite. I mounted it on old olive colored cardstock. It has inside, I've already stamped the inside message that today is great because it's all about you. Now it needs a focal point. So I've already stamped happy birthday, okay, in balmy blue, which is the blue color in the paper. And then I can, first I have to open the punch. And then I center the greeting. Sometimes it helps to squeeze a little bit to see where you are before you punch. And now look, I have that really pretty tag, and I can use dimensionals and pop that right up and make a very simple and pretty card. Another thing you can do with this punch, I stamped the happy birthday from the Ice Cream Corner set. You can use it to flag the ends. So I'm just putting it not all the way in. So it's important to squeeze before you punch. And so I have a nice little banner punch out. And I can also use this on my card if I wanted to as well. Pop that up on dimensionals. Another thing that's really cool that you can do with this punch, this is a Christmas card I made, and I punched all of these sections out with this punch on some designer series paper, and I adhered it as if it was bricks, and then I punched out the greeting. So I have this really cool effect. So with one punch, you can do 3 different, very unique things with your cards. And as I said, this stamp set, the Happy Thoughts, is great because it's got the happy birthday, the thank you, congratulations, the thinking of you, some nice paper, a punch, and you can do a lot. Now we're going to move back into our sweet ice cream. I showed you one card made. Now this is another card that I used the thank you sentiment. I used a punch to make the ice cream cone, and I used some of that nice designer series paper. Now, this is an example of how you don't need a lot of things to make really pretty cards. This is the card pack. You get 20 note cards and envelopes. This set is very vanilla. They also sell it in white. So look, I have my card base. I have my envelope. So I don't have to worry about getting an envelope from anywhere else. I'm just going to take my card base. I'm going to fold it. I'm going to use my bone folder here to down. Now I've already cut this out from the set of designer series paper. Now all I did here was I cut a 5-inch by almost 3, a little bit over 3 1/4 piece of paper out, and I cut it diagonally. So that just gives us really neat kind of effect, right? It's a little bit different. You can also cut it flat, any kind of way, or you can even have done what I did with the other card and covered the entire card front with a designer paper. Now, we'll just add here that really quickly. What's nice about using a suite is that they will tell you the coordinating colors. So in this suite, I'm just using some of the Tombow liquid glue. Don't need a lot, just a little bit. And I'm using the silicone craft sheet so I don't get glue everywhere, which was a problem before I got this craft sheet. So this color here is Blackberry Bliss, and it's one of the colors used in the paper. I mentioned Bermuda Bay, that was used in the previous card. So I'm just putting this. The nice thing about the liquid glue, I have a little bit of wiggle room, so I don't get it straight first time. I get a chance to move it around a little bit, put it in better position. Now it's a little hard to do while you're all watching me. Okay, so I've adhered that. Now I happen to have an ink spot of Blackberry Bliss. I can take the thank you, or I could take this and make it a happy birthday card instead, but I always need thank you cards. So I'm going to take my thank you stamp, going to mount it, and then like I showed you in the last video, when I'm using ink spots, I try to ink them upside down. It's a little bit easier. And you notice the photopolymer stamps, they do tend to stain, especially if you use the reddish inks, but it doesn't hurt the stamp. You can still use them. And then just align the thank you. Hold it down, even pressure. And there I have this really pretty card. Now I happen to also have the pastel pearls from the hydrangea set, and this purple coordinate really well, so I use that, but you don't need to, okay? But what I do need to do is use my ice cream punch to create an ice cream cone. So I'm opening the punch, and once again, I'm using from the same pack of designer series paper. I'm going to make myself an ice cream cone, and just notice this punch, you come in from 2 different directions. So to make the cone, you come in from the left side. Okay. And then we want to get a nice little purple. So this is the scrap of the paper that I've been using. You can cut out what you need. And this, I'm just gonna get in real close so I can get it's a little tight. So all I have to do now is adhere my ice cream top to the bottom, use a dimensional, pop it up, and there I go. I have a really simple and pretty card done very quickly and with minimal supplies. So what I needed for that card was the ice cream corner suite, the card, an envelope, some glue, and 1 ink spot. So you don't need a lot to make some really pretty cards. And I did want to show you another card. This might look familiar. This is if you actually go to page 48 in the catalog. It's shown right here, but this is my take on it. So mine's a little bit different because it didn't have some of the items shown here. So I mentioned the color coordination. So here we've got that Blackberry Bliss, that Bermuda Bay, and that I believe is the terracotta tile color. Yes, and all the colors are listed right here. So I know when I buy a suite which ink colors I'm going to need. Okay, and because they don't show the inside, I did that myself. I decided to stamp ice cream cone right inside, and stamp with sprinkles on top. Now all of this comes from this sweet ice cream stamp set. So what I did was I cut a piece of, this is a Balmy Blue. It is cut at 8.5 by 5.5, scored on that 4.25 mark. Same thing, I'm gonna fold it. Now, this piece was just cut out of white, and this once again was cut out of that pack of designer series paper. So it's versatile. So in theory, I could do the card like this and it would give it a completely different look to it. Now I use the rectangle dies, but you don't have to, because they're rectangles, you can just cut them. The bigger one is 5 1/8 by 3 3/4, and that's centered here. And then the smaller one is almost 2 3/4 by 4 inches, and that goes, it's offset a little bit. Now we're going to do a little bit of stamping because I want to show you what I did here. Now once again, I've got another ink spot. I've got that Bermuda Bay. Now I don't know if you can see in the camera, I've got these little pretty speckles in the back. I used the stamp from the ice cream set that looks like, I guess, I don't know if it's supposed to be sprinkles or chocolate chips. But a little trick here, if you want just something a little bit background, ink it up. But we're going to do a very light touch because this is just background, right? This is not, we don't want really intense color. We just want some nice little speckles. And then treat yourself. I decided to do in black because I wanted a little bit more of an impact than the original card example. So we're gonna go and grab that from the stamp set. Now, also I measured when I created my ice cream cone because I didn't want this too far over. You wanted it just far enough so you could also fit that cone in. I'm making this upside down as well, it's a little bit easier. Now I might not stamp this straight because it's a little tricky with the camera in the way. So we're just gonna do our best here to align it. Even pressure, don't rock the stamp. We have to treat yourself. Now it doesn't look identical, and that's the nice thing about handmade cards, right? We don't want them to look identical. We want them to look homemade. So I had already cut out each of those from the designer series paper, like I showed you with the other one. I'm also going to cut out one of these. Now you can glue them very easily with a liquid glue, but I don't, this piece takes a little bit longer to dry, so we'll just do our best. I'm just going to put a little bit, not a lot, a little bit of this goes a very, very long way. We're going to attach it. Once again, liquid glue gives you a little bit of movement. Okay, so take this, pop this up on dimensionals, and there you have the focal point for this card. I wanted to briefly talk about what I did with the center. Now I thought treat yourself with sprinkles on top went well together, but when I stamped this, I used a little trick called masking. So I'm going to show you how I did that. So first we're going to stamp the ice cream itself. Okay, same thing, I'm using that, just got ink all over my fingers, that Bermuda Bay color coordination, because you see it's the same color as the one I punched out of the designer paper. So I'm making that up really good. And I'll be cleaning my stamps once the camera is off. Okay, so make sure my paper is straight. So I'm gonna put a little bit in the center, even pressure. Don't rock the stamp. Now, it's not going to be solid, and that's the point. It's supposed to look like ice cream. Now, if I were to take my cone stamp and stamp right on top of it, I'm going to get some of that cone all over my pretty ice cream scoop. So what can I do? With that same punch, I punched out a piece from a Post-it note. I'm going to put the Post-it note over, and this is called a mask. So when I stamp my my ice cream cone, it's not going to block my pretty scoop ice cream. Now, I don't have, this is cinnamon cider. I don't have an ink pad, but I do have a Stampin' Right marker. So what's nice is I can take the marker, cover my stamp, and then I huff on it to activate the ink. And I'm going to get this as best I can. Same thing, even pressure. Lift this, and then I'm going to lift my mask. And then you see I have my pretty cone, and I don't have any of that brown on top of my ice cream scoop. So then I'll just stamp my sentiment, and I'll adhere this inside, and then I have, once again, another pretty card. I did want to show you one last card that I made. I'm not going to explain how to make this, but just want to show the versatility of this stamp set. This is the terracotta tile, which is another coordinating color. Okay, I used the sprinkle paper, which is once again from that paper pack, and I made this really pretty birthday card. Now, with the I cut out all of this ice cream with this stamp set with all different color paper, and some are stamped and some are not, just to give an illusion of different scoops of ice cream. So with one stamp set, we've gotten 1, 2, 3, 4 very, oh, that's not the complete one, very different looking cards. So you're only limited by your own creativity. So I encourage you to contact me if you need a catalog. Remember, the mini catalog goes until June, but we are in the middle of celebration right now. So if you want to earn some free products, it's a great time to order. This is my host code for January. Thank you for watching, and stamp on.